my mic on mute, so you didn't hear a word I was saying. I was just saying that today we're going to talk about why is it that Lyme is so hard to treat. And then a couple of announcements we'll make later. One of the announcements actually I'll make right now, and that is that next week at 10 a.m. we are going to announce the winner of our $664 Lyme medical intake giveaway. So that will happen next week at 10 a.m. on Thursday, same time, same channel, except for 10 a.m. And today we're going to talk about why is it so hard to diagnose Lyme. And then later today, or later in this broadcast, we're going to talk about an incredible program we have for you guys. So, why on earth is
Hello, Bridget. Good afternoon to you too.
Yeah, good afternoon. We had a few technical glitches getting on, but here we are. So the first question is, kind of why is it hard to diagnose, and then why is it hard to treat Lyme? So, one of the reasons is because your doctor has to think of it, right? When you go to the doctor and you feel crummy, your doctor has to think about it. And unfortunately, many doctors think Lyme disease is rare.
Mm-hmm.
Lyme disease isn't rare.
No, I think you have found that it's a lot more common than you would like it to be.
It is a lot more common than I would like it to be. And I've had it, and you've had it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, people come to me from all over the state and really all over the country because they've had it. Mm-hmm. I've had patients from Canada, most of the United States, including Alaska and both coasts. So I like to say all four coasts. Mm-hmm. The northern states, the southern states, the east states, the west states, and as far south as Panama and beyond, actually. I've had a few patients from Europe as well, all related to this mysterious chronic fatigue and joint pain and muscle pain and brain fog and cognitive problems. Have you ever gotten this bad? I have had patients who say that they stare at a light switch and they're not sure what to do with it.
Yeah, there was a point in time where, not necessarily a light switch, but, just those simple processing things took a lot longer than they would with an average person. So, yeah. Any type of critical thinking really took extended amount of time. And for me, mine was more about just trying to function at an optimal level with the life that I had. So a lot of the things I had to just kind of navigate to find ways to be able to, really do things as normally as I could.
Yeah. There's data, there's a really a big data push called My Lyme Data. And if you're a Lyme patient and you're not a member of My Lyme Data, please go to lymedisease.org, and sign up. There's a lot of interesting stuff that's fallen out of that. One thing is that Lyme patients are sick, real sick. Now, you know that, right? I mean, that's not news to you, but it is news to our colleagues, right? And so they looked at a whole bunch of different diseases and compared them to people. I got my Spock eyebrow going for me here. They compared them to a whole bunch of people with other diseases, and it turns out that Lyme disease people are sicker than people with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome and diabetes and even congestive heart failure. They're sick. And so, the first reason why is it hard to diagnose? Well, because your doctor has to think about it. They think it's rare, but we've just talked about how actually it isn't rare. And, especially in northern Minnesota, where 2/3 of the ticks are infected with the Lyme bug, carry the Lyme bug, getting a deer tick bite is better than a coin flip that you're going to be exposed to Lyme. Mm-hmm. So that's the main reason. The second reason is even if you do get a classic acute Lyme disease and you get the rash and the whole 9 yards, almost as often as not, it's going to be misdiagnosed as a different kind of skin problem, a different dermatitis than the erythema migrans rash that is the Lyme rash. So even if you get a classic acute Lyme, you're going to be told, well, gee, let's send off a test. Or even if they, half of the time or a little under half of the time, they're going to misdiagnose you as having some other kind of dermatitis. And then even if they do say, gee, this looks like Lyme disease, they'll say, let's send off a test. Now, the Center for Disease Control tells us that if you have a Lyme rash, that's diagnostic. You are done. You should be treated. But doctors don't know that. So they send off a Lyme test. And the problem is that the Lyme rash will come within 3 days to 3 or 4 weeks, whereas the Lyme test won't be positive until 4 to 6 weeks. So you may well have a Lyme rash. Your doctor thinks he's doing a great job by sending off a Lyme test. The Lyme test comes back negative, and now you're told, well, the test is negative, you don't have Lyme disease. So from that moment forward, they never think of Lyme again because they think they've ruled it out, right? So that's the other reason it's hard to diagnose Lyme. And then the last reason is that for many people with chronic Lyme, they don't get the normal acute Lyme disease. What happens to them is they just get slowly worse and worse and worse. Instead of having that acute low-grade fevers, body aches, chills, fevers, all that stuff, they just feel crummier and crummier and crummier, slowly over time. So that's a big problem. And then why is it hard to treat? Lyme disease grows slower than most bacteria. And so it requires a longer course of antibiotics just because it grows slower. But then it also displays something called stealth pathology. And stealth pathology means that it has learned how to evade the immune system and evade antibiotics. So we have to employ very specific treatments in order to get past these stealth pathologies. And that's why most of the time we treat people with chronic Lyme for a year or 2 or sometimes longer. So those are really the issues with why is it hard to diagnose and why is it hard to treat. Now let's just talk a little bit about sort of what is the treatment process and how does that even begin to work. A lot of people just go on high doses of either oral or intramuscular or IV antibiotics. How would that work for you?
Antibiotics?
Yeah.
I'm a person who doesn't tolerate antibiotics very well, so
Exactly.
I haven't had antibiotics for a very long time. It just wreaks havoc on my gut, and then my entire system suffers because of it. And then I want to note too, Bridget said that she was diagnosed in 1996 when she had pneumonia, and then had Herx reactions from the antibiotic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting. Most people who are exposed to the Lyme bug either don't get Lyme or fight it off on their own. They think they just had the summer flu. And then there's a subset of people who go to the doctor, they get given antibiotics for no particular reason. There's another subset that get the test that turns out to be positive, they get treated, and and some people get better right away, and some people get this chronic form. And the issue becomes what's unique and different about you, the person who has the bug, rather than it's all the bug's fault. There's also a component of what's unique and different about you. And the interesting thing is many people who have problems tolerating medicines or tolerating strong odors, like many people with Lyme will tell you that long before they had Lyme disease, they couldn't walk down the soap aisle at the grocery store without feeling it. They couldn't go into a candle shop without feeling it. They had just some other, maybe less than ideal ability to detoxify or tolerate, and that was sort of their susceptibility. And so for you, you just don't tolerate drugs in general, but antibiotics in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you have to do to kind of get past that and get some help?
Herbal antibiotics is what I used.
So, herbal treatments. It turns out when you go to this same LymeDisease.org and go to the My Lyme data, you find that the number one treatment outside of antibiotics, the number one treatment for people with Lyme is herbal protocols, right? Mm-hmm. But most people, I think the thing that's different about Just Be Well and how we treat Lyme is most providers are doing a fairly superficial job of trying to understand the what's called epigenetics of the individual patient. They'll say, well, we balance your hormones and we do this and we do that and we do the other thing. Well, that's nice, except why are your hormones out of balance? Why is your detox poor? Why, right? Understanding why is really at the heart of trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with somebody with Lyme. The issue isn't, oh, you have the bug. The question is, why are you the one who is susceptible to this bug? And how do we go about shoring up your physiology so that you no longer have the potential to be susceptible to Lyme? So we treat the bug and we treat you simultaneously to kill off the bugs, overcome that stealth pathology, shore up your ability to fight and resist and be resilient, and that's how we get past Lyme. So that's sort of treatment in a nutshell. And I want to talk about a new program that we've just kind of, it's in infancy. It's just if you're giving birth, maybe it's just crowning. It's not quite born yet, but it will be born here very soon. We are putting together a program for treating people with Lyme to make it much, much, much more affordable. In fact, something close to 85% off the normal cost of being treated by myself and Elizabeth and the Just Be Well team. So I want to tell you a little bit about it. We're gonna, first of all, it's brand new. We don't want to get killed by this, so we're going to limit it to eight people. To start with, we may open up another 8, but it's going to be groups of 8 people. So it's the same group of 8. You have your own, I call them community of what I call wellness partners, right? So what are the benefits? The benefits of this program is, on average, I would say our Lyme patients double their level of wellness in the first year, and they double it again in the second year. That means less fatigue, less pain, less muscle pain, less joint pain, less brain fog, less bad things, and more vitality. Traditionally, you would have to travel to the clinic, you'd have to wait around in the office, and there would be these costly one-on-one visits in the little cubicle of the doctor's office, and then go home with, not as much support as you need and all that kind of stuff. So what is our program going to be? Well, it is going to be some one-on-one, it's actually going to be 2-on-1, the 2 of us on one patient. So there's a 1-hour intake where before you do the intake, we're going to have you but create like a short story of your illness so that we really have a clear understanding of your story. And we're going to have you fill out something called the Living Matrix. Living Matrix is a way of depositing your health records into a computer program that then generates a timeline and what's called the functional medicine matrix. The functional medicine matrix is how we're able to make deep, holistic interconnections to understand that, this problem isn't isolated, it's related to this problem. And if we work on these 2 things, you'll get better faster kind of idea. And then after we've had the intake and we've put together a plan, and I write out a detailed plan and email it to you, we give you about a week to kind of digest the plan, and then you have a coaching session with Elizabeth. So she was at the intake, she knows your story, she's read your story, she's been there, heard it, and then you have a coaching session to just make sure you understand the program. So what kind of things happen?
Questions.
Yeah. So what kind of things happen at that coaching session?
Well, it's really just a time for you, once you get done with that hour-long appointment, we send you kind of a detailed plan of, things for you to follow over the next months, whether that would be, new supplements sometimes, perhaps a new diet, things along those lines. And so really it allows you to look over everything, write down questions you have, because a lot of times people have questions and then we're emailing back and forth. So really just time to talk about the plan, the questions, and how we can really get this plan in action in your life, in your schedule, with your level of energy, with all that you have to give it. So
then we give you a couple weeks to kind of get it going, right? And then guess what happens? You have more questions, more problems, more impediments, more roadblocks. And so we do a second coaching call. Because instead of, email back and forth, yeah, but you didn't fully answer the question. I forgot to ask this part of the question. Let's just get online just like this and let's talk. And so you have a second question and answer coaching call. People start to do the diet and then they start to have 1,000,002 questions.
Right. Oh, well, actually, can I have this thing? Or how about, can I have this thing?
Yeah, all the negotiations. It said I can't have dairy, but can I have cream in my coffee? Well, it also says you can't have coffee. Or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm just making that up.
Right, yes.
So these two coaching calls right up front to make sure you get off on the right foot, right? And then we do these every single month. Your same group of 8 meet with us, the 2 of us, on a group visit. Now, why a group visit? Well, first of all, it's up to 2 hours long, so there's lots of time, and most of the time, people have very similar questions. So instead of me briefly answering a question, because I only have 15 minutes with you, I can take a lot of time to answer that question because I know it's a question on a lot of people's minds, right? And then when I get to you, so I kind of go around the room, and then I get to you, and you go, well, that's not exactly my problem. My problem is a little different. It's this. Okay, well, you already understand the mechanism because we talked about it in length, but now I can dive even deeper into your very hyper-specific question. So it really allows for much deeper understanding of the plan and the program, and so you understand what's going on.
Yeah. And it's a great community, because a lot of times we can feel alone, like, nobody understands, nobody doesn't, they don't have the, that perception that we have from our point of view, because they're not going through it. So it's hard to explain, everybody's like, well, but you look fine, so I don't get it. So it's really nice to have that community, and a group of 8, there's power in a group. There's healing power in a group. Power of 8 by Lynn McTaggart, I think is the kind of book.
And that's how we've actually designed this. And we're going to talk next about the intention of 8 groups that are every single week, actually. So that's really huge, I think, is the community, the camaraderie, the support, and in addition to support, the accountability. Because once you bond with the group, you start to feel accountable.
And encourage,
group. And
encourage one another. I think it's really a key component that is missing from a lot of treatment plans.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I, people, I have this great story, probably too much information here, but one of the groups I've done in the past, one of the women said, Josh, I'm just having such a hard time getting out exercising. And it wasn't about Lyme, it was about having insulin resistance. But so another person in the group said, me too, but I'll exercise with you. That'll be great. So, and this was obviously pre-COVID. So they started getting together and going on runs and walks and whatever. They became really good friends. So a couple of months later, they come back to a group, and they're giggling and you're talking about what a great deal it is and how they've really started to exercise, and she wants to prove it to us. Well, she proves it to us because when they were out running, she fell and hit the curb on her right butt. And she drops her pants right in the middle of this group to show everybody her bruise. So, good friendships and too much sharing are very possible in a group. So then, in addition to the group visits, where these are medical visits, these aren't, touchy-feely visits, although there's a lot of touchy-feely, healthy bonding that goes on. These are medical visits where we go over your plan, make adjustments to your plan, order labs if we need to, interpret labs if we need to. And by the way, when we order a lab, what will happen is when I get the results, I make a video of the lab. I go over it in detail and send that video along with the typed interpretation of the video so that you know all about the lab before you even get to the group visit. And then if you have additional questions or, if we're going to implement a treatment plan based on other details, then we do it at the group visit. But so lots and lots of stuff goes on in this program that, we aren't even talking very much about. So then every week there's sort of a self-guided intention of 8 program where your group of 8 get together for 1 hour. And yeah, it's a commitment, 1 hour a week for you to get better because according to Lynn Taggart's research, it's more powerful for you to focus your healing intention on someone else than on yourself. And I always think it's sort of like accepting compliments. If it's hard to accept a compliment, but it's much easier. It's much easier for me to say, "You do such a great job, thank you," than it is for me to say, "Oh, I do such a great job, thank me." It's like, I don't think that. None of us do, right? So if I can be in a group and this week, all of my healing intention is focused on you, it turns out that healing intention that I am broadcasting helps her, but it helps me. And so then the next week, she's broadcasting her healing intention on me. The whole group, all 7 other people are focused on me. And all 7 people were focused on her and all the way around. It's super powerful. And again, it builds that sense of community and camaraderie and so on. So, just looking at all of the direct time, not making videos about your exact lab or any of that extra stuff that goes on. This program, if you just paid for our time, is almost $18,500. I mean, that's what people pay in my office. That's what people pay in my office. But because we can do it virtually, nobody has to travel, so I can use some of that time that I would have to travel to do some of these videos and everything, and the fact that we're doing it in these little pods of 8, we can do it for about less than $3,000. So that's the big announcement, is we're starting this program for less than $3,000, where you get more than $18,000 worth of
Did you say how long the program was?
a year.
Okay.
Yeah, a year of
Just
care.
wanna make sure.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't know that.
An entire year.
An entire year. So it's that intake. It's the 3 additional. I don't even know if I talked about those.
You didn't talk about the individual visits with you either.
Yeah. So and it's 2-on-1 because it's the 2 of us. The 2 of us working with you 1-on-1 for your intake plus 3 additional 30-minute visits. So it's 4 visits throughout the year, roughly quarterly. And then it's on top of that, every month in the group medical visit, every week in the intention to heal group. So lots of time with us, lots of care for under $3,000. I mean, I don't know. That's just a few visits, to be honest with you, for a lot of people, 3 or 4 visits, and you're getting all year of care. So we're going to be launching this. You'll see some stuff coming out very soon. The other thing I wanted to remind everybody about is the free Lyme disease intake. If you haven't signed up for that, if you haven't written your little blurb about why please do that. I have a long list of them right over here on my printer that we're going through, and we're going to put them in a pile to pick one out of a hat and see who wins that. And we will see you next week for that announcement. I hope this is interesting information that we've given you today, and hope to see you next week. And let's just see. Hello, Terry. How are you? And all right.
What are you looking for?
How to quit.
Right here.
Oh, it's fine. My microphone.
Oh.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being here. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.